Welcome to the Senior Hour. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Good morning. Welcome to the Senior Hour, which is sponsored by Comfort Keepers in Home Care and Advanced Audiology. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host,
Dr. Jane Dorio,
on your hometown station 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. This is a show for, about, and by seniors, giving information to enhance one's quality of life. And our in-studio guest this morning is Jason Gibbs, who's running for City Council.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Gene.
Welcome.
How you guys doing?
Good to see you.
You too.
You can pull that thing closer
it
to
moves.
you.
Look at that.
Yeah, it does. And since this is the Senior Hour, and you're running for City Council,
Yeah.
do you have plans to enhance the quality of life for our seniors?
I want to
in
enhance the
this
quality of life for
community?
everybody,
For everybody.
but seniors as well, of course.
Seniors most of all.
Well, most of all, that's right. It's the senior hour, right?
Absolutely, young.
For the next hour, it's seniors only, and then
That's
after
right.
that, we'll.
I mean, you're with two seniors here, so you better behave yourself.
Well, you don't look it.
Thank you. Flattery,
Say, how we
started
doing?
off on the right
Doing
foot.
right, Gene?
flattery will get you everywhere.
Okay,
oh,
excellent.
Yeah.
So Jason, we worked together over at the newspaper, and we tried to get out a lot of viewpoints. But one of the viewpoints, as you know, being on the show and writing columns and things like that, we've all wanted to try to make sure that the senior viewpoint is out in the forefront. And the city of Santa Clarita has stepped forward. The county of Santa Clarita has stepped forward. We have a new senior center.
a wonderful
and
senior center.
The recognition of how and why this all came about came from those who supported seniors. And I know you support the older adults here in Santa Clarita.
Of course.
And how, just in general, how as a city council person, how will you blend everybody together to make sure that we're all continue to move in the right direction?
Of course. It's funny that Bob Keller told me once when we were chatting. He said, Jason, when you're a city council member, and I said, well, Bob, thank you. You already assuming I'm going to be one. But he said, Jason, what you do is any decision you make on that council, it should be always what is best for the city. Not for groups, not for identities, for the city as a whole. And I think Bella Vita is a perfect example of what can happen when we all come together and say, we need this in our community, and let's get it done. And what a beautiful place it is. It truly is.
And I wish my husband had been alive to see it,
Barbara, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
because he was one of the founders.
And if you go when you walk in to the original, okay.
Yes, and the senior center.
And when you walk into that building and you turn to the right on the wall is all the people who have donated, contributed, and been a part of that dream and brought it together. And I remember I went to it was a fundraiser for the senior center last year, and I was chatting with Kevin, and he was telling me Kevin McDonald, executive director, and he was telling me all about it. And one thing that caught my eye was there was a room, and it was designed for people who are helping their family members or seniors with Alzheimer's and dementia. And he said this was a place that people could come and bring them so that they would be safe. And this would give the caregivers time to go out and do their shopping, to go out and get lunch, to have a few moments to themselves, knowing that their loved ones are being cared for. And I thought that was huge. Because that was something we dealt with my grandmother. And she dealt with dementia for a long time. And Gene, often in your articles you talk about the importance of seniors being able to stay home, to stay independent.
Age in place.
And age in place. And with her, unfortunately, we had to send her to a place, and bless her heart, and I know that they tried their best, but it just wasn't a great fit for her. And often I sit there and think, one day that'll be my parents. One day that'll be me. And you start thinking about that now when you start hearing and seeing these things.
Well, it's interesting because Russ would not go to a facility. Absolutely refused. And fortunately, a long time ago, I had purchased long-term care insurance against his wishes. I did it anyway.
Wife is always right.
Well, hey.
But you know what? That long-term care policy covered 1/3 of our in-home care because he eventually had to have 24/7 in home care, but it paid 1/3 of the amount, which was substantial,
And allowed him to stay at
and
home.
allowed him to stay at home,
And-
which was the most important thing for him.
And I'm sure we'll talk about it more as the hour goes on. But my mother, she passed away about 5-6 years ago now, and for her it was very big to be home. She did not like going to the hospital. She did not like having surgeries. There were times where I'd call on my way through Santa Barbara and I'd say, "Hey, Dad, I'm coming through town. Do you guys want to get lunch?" She says, "Oh, we're down at Northridge. Your mom's having surgery." I'd say, "You guys didn't call and let us know?" And my mom would say, "Just surgery, Jason. Just no need to worry about you. You got a life to go. I don't like being here. I want to be home as soon as I can." To the point that in the end, she called hospice herself.
She
And
did.
it was she and my dad would talk, and she said, I don't want to spend the rest of my days in a facility. She picked up the phone and she called for hospice care at the end of her life. And that was huge.
Good for her.
You often talk a lot about
Good for
hospice care.
her.
And hospice, I'll tell you, from a son's standpoint, was an incredible thing.
Absolutely.
It really was. And it was such a hard thing to deal with, but she wanted to be home. And that offered her the ability to do so.
Right, and Bella Vita is a place that when you are home, you have things to do. You take care of your garden. You
Yep.
take care of your pets.
Yes.
If you still drive, you move around and got to go grocery shopping. You have still things to do. But as we get older, we retire and we start blending into the community in a different way.
Right.
Before it was with our children and schools and things like that, but then as we blend in, there's sometimes a lack of things to do, but Bella Vita provides that and makes up that space so that it can give you all the elements that you need to be happy, have something to look forward to, find purpose, meet friends. This is the whole thing that Bella Vita has provided for us, and the foresight has come from City Council.
Right.
There's no doubt for the presence of many of us at the meetings, and with the help of Bob Keller, a lot of things I'm not sure whether it would have gone through, but Marcia McLean, she's our mayor presently, and she's done a great job. Everybody, Lorene West, they've done just super in terms of helping our older adults out and trying to assure that not only purpose is there, but they have a place to go. And today, for instance, if you go over to the senior center at lunch, which I will be doing, they will have a local band that will be playing as well. So it's entertaining and it's fun, it's interesting, but it's filled a vacuum for many of us here. Now that many have retired, we have now somewhere to go and a place to enjoy life and continue life well into our 90s.
Yes. And I think you hit it right on the head, Gene, is purpose. It's not just about being alive, it's about living. And that's one of the crucial things that you're going to get from Bella Vita. And like you talked about, my mom was big into gardening, and when my dad retired, he was big into giving his kids a bad time. But in that, it is so important to always find something. And it's not just about, when we talk about safety, like with my grandmother, she went into a different state, and it was very important that she was safe. But if people still have their wits about them and they're still able to enjoy and think and interact with people, you don't just want to keep them in a box. You need to keep them with purpose. You need to keep them in a place that fosters that.
That's true. And I read in the newspaper today that they have watercolor lessons over there.
It's great. Just name something and we have
Yeah,
it.
I'm going to go over there because I love to paint and I love to crayon.
Do they
I
do
still
lessons
do
like
that in color
teaching
books.
Facebook and teaching social medias and Twitters
We
and
have
things like
computer
that?
classes, and that is filling that purpose right now. And I think there are individuals who help with that. We've only been open there for 8 weeks.
Yeah,
or so,
yeah.
so it hasn't been a long time. So now we're trying to rev things up, but it's going to take time. And I think a year from now we'll be able to look back and see what we didn't have and what we have now put through and have available. But right now it's a build-up time.
Right.
So we're doing that for our city. Nationally and internationally, there's something known as age-friendly communities.
Yes.
And age-friendly communities internationally has taken off. It's programs for everybody. It's not related to older adults or children. It's across the board. And in the United States, AARP has been chosen to help run age-friendly communities, and communities can sign up, but it's a 3 to 5 year process of planning, and our city of Santa Clarita, it looks like they have decided to do that and move forward with it. But it's not like you snap your fingers
No.
and all of a sudden, Jason, all of these things are in front of us.
No.
It has to be planned. And in the county of Los Angeles, I believe there are only five cities that are designated as age friendly. Here in Santa Clarita, we now are on the list.
Good.
And it's mainly because of the city council and listening to the citizens and getting this to move forward from Marcia McLean, the mayor, and then going to Ken Striplin, our
City manager.
the city manager, and they've all moved this forward, investigating and trying to figure out, is this worthy? And they've decided that it is. And what it involves, and these are topics that we can talk about, is housing. And some of the articles I write about is senior housing, and some of them fearful of being homeless. Transportation. How are the seniors going to move around when they can't drive anymore? There's so many, and healthcare. How are they going to get their health care and sustain their health care? So, in terms of us talking about age-friendly communities and just kind of blending it toward the older adult population, let's talk a little bit about housing. Housing, there's no rent control. I think Culver City.
And the county. The county's done it now.
Yeah, and so we're trying, we're trying to figure out, and at City Council, you'll notice there are several individuals who go there, Jason, and they're, you get elected, and they're going to come and they're going to say, listen, my housing, my ability to stay in Santa Clarita is now limited. I owned a home, and then I had to move into an apartment, and now I was in a trailer, and now I'm almost on the street. What do we do, and how are we going to handle that, Jason? That senior population, which is not gonna, it's growing.
Yes, it is. I mean, the baby boomers are retiring.
Yes, and they're retiring. They're moving into that sector where they're not paying. They're not working, so they're not paying the tax base to support the tax base. So with housing and transportation, healthcare, where do we start on this?
You got to start looking at all of it, truly.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's not something that happens overnight. It's a process that you start thinking about. I was big at talking about the accessory dwelling units a bit. And
Yes.
obviously, you need to be careful. You can't
Yes,
put
oh,
ADUs
yeah.
on every single home. That wouldn't work. But there are times, I think, and my dad would talk about this. So he lives in Santa Barbara by himself. And 50 years ago, homes were relatively affordable in Santa Barbara.
And they had a little bit of acreage.
And there was a little
too.
bit of acres. I think on his street, you're talking maybe a third of an acre or something like that. And that was fairly common at the time in the area. You flash forward 50 years, and he'll tell you to this day he overpaid it, $60,000. and there's not a house on that street that's worth less than $1 million. And he would say, Jason, I could sell it, but where am I going to go?
Where are you
Any
going?
place I go, my
That's right.
property taxes will jump up and skyrocket because he loses Prop 13 protection in a lot of areas. He's talked about moving out of states where retirement money can go farther. But one thing he used to always say is, I don't go out a lot. If I do, I go to the bowling alley or I go to my card games and I go visit with some friends during the day. But his big thing was he didn't like seeing seniors leave neighborhoods. And to the point where young families would come in, but in Santa Barbara, you don't get a lot of young families because housing is very unaffordable for new families. And they would say, we miss kids. early on when we go to college, he used to joke that he was going to change the locks so that we couldn't come home. And a fun little side note, he did. He replaced the door and forgot to tell us, and I came home and the lock didn't work. And so we laugh about it now, but at the time I thought he was sending a very obvious message there. That's right. But now he says, I would love if one of you kids were home. If one of you kids, and I don't need the house anymore, but if you live in the house, or if I could rent it out to a young family, and I just had a little place in the back that I could live in, then he would have that income from his home that he could rent out. And he used to say, Jason, properties up there, like his home would rent for $5,000 a month, and he would say, I'm not renting this for $5,000 a month. If there's a young family or somebody I'm comfortable with, I'm more than happy to do it for half of that, just so that I can have them there, so I feel safe in the back. But he still feels a part of the community. It's still his home, and so I thought there was a lot we could do there, and I think there's going to be a big push for individuals to be involved. And a lady that he was seeing after my mom passed away, she owned a few properties in Santa Barbara, and she used to always joke. She said, "I don't do long-term rents. I do monthly rents." And I said, "And your tenants are comfortable with that? I mean, do they not want the security of long-term rents?" And she said, well, when I did month to month, I do two things. I said, one, if I had a bad tenant, I didn't have to wait a longer time in order to start that process.
That's right.
But Jason, if I had somebody who took care of the place, who was always making their rents and paying me on time, I wouldn't adjust their rent. I would leave their rent exactly where it is for years. And I think there's something we can do with that. I think if people, especially the aging population here that owns their homes, who don't want to leave, that would offer an opportunity, I think.
Is the house paid for in Santa Barbara? That's really a plus.
It was, you were able to do it back then, and my dad, he was the cheapest man I've ever known. Would stop in the middle of the street to pick up a penny, but he retired at 55. He had 4 boys, and he retired when his oldest son started college, and he was able to do that because he worked very hard to pay off their house as early as they could, saved money to put it away for college. He never lived anywhere beyond his means. And it's afforded him the opportunity now where he's been able to enjoy retirement for 25 years and will be able to live out his life the way he lives.
That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Absolutely wonderful.
And he still doesn't lend his kids money.
And he did change the locks, too, right?
And he did change the locks.
Oh, that's funny. Well, we need to take a break.
Of course.
That is funny. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS.
Green Thumb International, your lawn and garden professionals, have the widest variety of shrubs, flowering plants, and garden supplies in the Santa Clarita Valley. Use water-wise plants. Plants rated water-wise need less water to survive. Find out which plants, once well-established, can get along with less water. Ask our CA-certified nursery persons which plants work well with limited watering. On Newhall Avenue in Old Town Newhall near Sierra Highway. Green Thumb puts the green in your thumb.
At the Burrito Factory, their motto has always been to serve quality food with fast, friendly service. But did I mention the taste? When it comes to authentic taste and huge mouth-watering burritos, the Burrito Factory is second to none. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or a catered event, Burrito Factory has the taste of Mexico to satisfy your craving. Burrito Factory on Soledad Canyon Road next to Chi-Chi's Pizza in Canyon Country. Stop in or call ahead 288-0222.
The Art Gallery of Santa Clarita Artists Association, located in downtown Newhall on 6th Street between Railroad and Main, features local members' original artwork with changing exhibits every 2 months. Purchase affordable art for your home or as gifts. Open Friday through Sunday or by appointment. Artists wishing to join the SCAA can visit santaclaritaartist.org, come to our free monthly meetings at Barnes & Noble, or stop by the gallery. For upcoming shows, check us out at santaclaritaartist.org. We make visual art visible.
Finding the right auto body shop can feel like a never-ending search.
It's more than a job, it's a hobby.
Caesar, owner of Body Shop 661, your one-stop body shop.
Out here in Santa Clarita, I like seeing my cars driving around. It's really a passion.
More than just repairs. Body Shop 661, trusted, reliable, respected for over 16 years in the Santa Clarita Valley. Visit bodyshop661.com or give them a call, 661-251-2252.
Great healthcare just got easier and more convenient in Canyon Country. Facey Canyon Country is now open directly off the Soledad Canyon exit off the 14 freeway. The 37,000 square foot clinic houses Facey Medical Group primary care physicians, pediatricians, and specialists. Facey has easy 24/7 online appointment scheduling for PCPs and peds. For more information or to make an appointment, visit facey.com. That's FACEY.com.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Your hometown station.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Jason Gibbs, who's running for City Council. And Jason, what made you decide to run for City Council?
There really was just one moment, and it was in 2016. My wife and I had our first child, our son Aiden, and I vividly remember in the fall time, I had the 3 o'clock in the morning diaper duties, and I'm half asleep, and I'm over there changing my diaper, and there was an honest moment where I just stopped. And I realized everything that I'd done beforehand, being a young man, my wife and I were married, there were no kids, so we were always doing little vacations and Disneyland and things like that. And I'm sitting there changing my son's diaper, and I realized this is what's important. This is what's next. This is where we need to start thinking about the future. What's the future going to be for my family, for your family, for everybody? And just my whole perspective on life changed. And at that moment, I said, okay, I'm going to do something. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it would be politics or it would just be nonprofits, but I said, I'm gonna start getting involved. And it just so happened a friend of mine had run for city council in San Luis Obispo. And afterwards he said, Jason, he felt, I think he might have been joshing me a little bit, but he said, I like your temperament. I think you'd be great in the political world. You should get involved. And I said, well, I want to do something, so I'll take a look. And the city was having the open nominations for city council for Dante's open seat. And I think it was on a Wednesday, and it said applications were due Friday. And I said, well, all it takes is you to fill out a form and get 3 people to say you're a good guy, so why not? And so I just jumped in. I'd never been to City Hall. I knew nothing, really, truly nothing about local politics. My wife and I were just kind of getting our lives settled and just bought a home and just started a family. And so I jumped in. And my first form ever was the Signal Forum that they held. I'd never been in a debate. I've never done city government or local ASB stuff in school. And I had a great time. I really did. And after that, Lila reached out to me from the Signal and said, Jason, I hadn't seen your name before. I was hoping maybe you'd want to come get involved and come to this monthly meeting at the Signal. And Lila was very honest. She said, now for me, Jason, what I'm looking for is I need people to write. I want people to put pen to paper and get more editorials and more opinion pieces in the Signal. But she thought it would be a nice opportunity to get people together. And that's how I met Eugene, yes. is at one of these meetings. And there were people who had been elected officials. There were people who had run for office. And it just became this session once a month for an hour where we would just talk local politics. And a lot of times Alan would get in there and just, Mr. Ferdman, he'd go 20, 30 minutes on a topic. But
it was great.
But no, it really was. Yes. And there was no fight. There were differences of opinion. And you could tell that, but everybody was respectful. Everybody was kind. No one was, demeaned for their opinion. And it became an opportunity for me just to get involved. So I just started writing. I'd try to write once a month for the Signal on any topic from local to national, just whatever took my interest for that month. And then actually, Gene, about a year later, we were leaving one of those meetings in 2018, and Brett Haddock, who ran for city council, walked by and says, Jason, you going to run for city council? And I think at the time I just chuckled and said, no, I don't think so. But then that stuck in my head. I said, well, I applied for the nomination. I don't see why I can't run for city council. So I just jumped in. I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And it's taken off from there. And then after the city council election in 2018, I think I took one day off. spent some time with the kids. We went to the park and things, and then I said, okay, I'm going to start getting more involved. And since then, I became a member of the Double E Bond Oversight Committee for Saugus Union. I'm on the board of directors for the Wish Foundation. I'm on the advisory board for the Boys and Girls Club. And I just started jumping in every way I could, and just getting more and more involved and being more active.
Public service is wonderful.
It is fun.
Yeah.
And I think when you always hear the statement of Santa Clarita is that small town feel, but it's a big community. It's a small town feel when you're at these nonprofits, when you're at the Circle of Hope or a senior center event. You see the same 200 to 300 people who are always out there giving their time, giving their money, putting their effort in to make the city better. So that's where the small town feel comes to me in a city of almost 250,000 people. And they are the ones who really make this community tick.
Don't you like the fact that, you know, there's such diverse opinion here in Santa Clarita, and we see all the division and fighting nationally, but here in Santa Clarita, we've done very well in terms of, you know, coming together, seeing what the problems are, and working together to find the solutions for the problem.
You're absolutely right. And I always joke about it. If you're on the Facebook community pages, the #1 issue in Santa Clarita, it's not traffic. It's the lack of a Porto's. A Porto's Bakery.
Yes,
and I always laugh when I see that, and I think, how well is your city doing if that's one of the biggest complaints that you hear? And a lot of people say it, you know, in a bit of a joking fashion, but
no, I'm one of those who complain.
Gee,
that's on #1 on my list. I hate driving down to Glendale. It's too far.
But you know what? This community wouldn't be what it is now if it weren't for volunteers.
You're absolutely right.
It really
You're absolutely
wouldn't.
right.
And so many people have given of their time and energy, even those who have passed on. And people are they're younger and younger as they're volunteering in this community. There's so many things for everyone of all ages to get involved in.
You're right.
I mean, I've been volunteering since 1975.
And I do worry sometimes that people my age and younger aren't doing enough to be involved in the community. And a lot of it, I think, is they don't know how.
That's
I mean,
right.
you know, for me, I didn't know anything about city government. I didn't know anything about our nonprofits. It took jumping into the political
You
world
have to jump in.
to find it. And I was so blessed. So when people said, Jason, are you bummed you lost? I said, no, look how many great people I've met. Look how many great organizations I'm now involved with. So it was a win for me.
Absolutely.
And I'm
whether
proud
you
of
win
all
or
that.
you win or you lose, it's still a win.
It is. It is.
It really is.
And you know, at the city level, the city is very well run. We're very well financially. I've been to cities where they got to decide what program they're cutting within the next fiscal year to make their budget, and we're trying to decide what we're going to build next.
That's right.
And we've done that with just very smart planning. You know, we've done so well with the resources that we have, and we're able to do these things. And I thought that was so great. So when I got involved, you know, a lot of people would come and hit the hand on the desk saying, we've done this wrong and this wrong and this. And I think at one of our meetings at the Signal, I stopped and I said, you guys, you know, I understand why you don't like this or why you don't like this, but if you look at the big picture, this is a great place. Yeah, we can tweak here and there. Sure, a mistake has been made here or there, or maybe we should have done something different. But overall, what a great place. And people are happy. They really are. If you're complaining about a Porto's Bakery, your city's doing something right. You really are.
That's very true. That's very true. And, well, just tooting my own horn, I was Woman of the Year in 1983.
Wonderful.
And the only other person who currently lives in this community is Ed Bolden, who was Man of the Year long before I was Woman of the Year in 1983.
That's awesome.
And that came about as being a volunteer in the community. That's what you're nominated for.
That's right.
That's what you're chosen for, to be the Man and Woman of the Year. It's all community involvement, community volunteer involvement. And that's what's made our community the community it is.
Agreed.
It's incredible. I wouldn't want to live any other place.
And
I really wouldn't.
I do want to point out, though, that Bob Keller, our city council person, Bob Keller, has been there for 20 years.
20 years.
And he has decided not to run. I just want to point out the role he has played, how important it has been here for our community. I've worked with Bob in many aspects, and I think I was thankful that every time I have worked with him, we've been on the same team, fighting the same fight, and he has always stepped forward. And I think, didn't he start in Canyon Country as well?
Yes.
In service there, and he worked his way up and into doing volunteer work as you are doing, Jason, and then he was elected to city council, and a lot of the direction that has taken place and his advocacy has made the city of Santa Clarita who we are today.
Absolutely.
So, Bob was in law enforcement, and he was a Green Beret. He has served our country and our community, but served it so well now in city council. And turning around and now when the next election cycle, there will be 2 spots available that you will be running for, but one will be Bob Keller's, and he's going to be tough to replace. I think he's just done just a super job, but he has done one thing that I think that is so important that many of our city council people have done. They've listened to us.
That's right.
They sometimes haven't agreed with us, but they have listened to us and made their point of view and why. And for me, I'm the humanitarian type person that says, we need this for our older adults, we need this for our kids, but sometimes they are right. They go, well, financially we have to make certain sacrifices and make sure that we can balance that budget.
That's right.
And do the other things we need to do to maintain our infrastructure, which we have done. So just going back to Bob, I think he has played a tremendous role in being the advocate, especially for our older adults here in Santa Clarita. And I just wanted to point that out, that we will be losing a great public servant for having Bob Keller here as our city council person.
And Bob was a big supporter of mine in 2018, and it came out maybe a week or two ago in the local paper where he announced again that he was retiring, but that he endorsed me for 2020. And still to this day, I can't come up with the words on how that makes me feel. This is a man who served the city of Santa Clarita for 20 years, and like you said, was so involved with nonprofits and organizations in town, and has been an absolute fixture at City Hall. For someone who's been there 20 years, who's known me for a year and a half maybe, to look at me and say, Jason, when I step off that council, I want you to be there. It still blows my mind that he would say that to me. And I wasn't in the military. I'm new to the game. I'm just getting involved, and for him to look at me and say, you are exactly what this city needs, I have no words. I still don't know how to thank him for believing in me like that.
And passing the torch is so important.
Yes.
And as I sit in so many of these groups that we volunteer for here in Santa Clarita and outside of Santa Clarita, I recognize that I'm sometimes one of the older individuals on the board, but I also know how important it is for those who want to move the community forward. They have the knowledge and the ability and the understanding and the background to be able to carry that torch, because it is not easy.
No.
You have to, listening is a quality and a characteristic of individuals that I think is critically important for doctoring, especially.
Absolutely.
It is, and but being able to take the information after listening and analyze it and pull in the people around you that can help guide you with making a better decision is important. And I think it's important that people understand that, many of the council members in the past have done that. And Bob definitely has done that, but I know you, Jason, so I know you also.
Yeah.
In passing the torch to you, he's a wise person.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you.
In making the choice to allow us to flourish down the line. And, I'm hopeful to be here, in 20 or 30 years still. And with that, have a community that will still say, we're supporting you,
Yeah.
all of you, and making sure your lives are still worthy as well and giving us that purpose.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I think one of the things you're seeing is, you know, a lot of the council members have been here a long time and have been involved a long time and served a long time. They all look for what's next. They're all concerned with what's coming next. And one of the things I learned early on, as I've alluded to here, is the city is a great place. We have done great things. So often during the campaign, people would say, Jason, what don't you like about that council member? Why are you running to get that person out? And I'd say, I'm not running to get them out. I'm not going to say anything bad about them because I think they've done an incredible job.
Absolutely.
And I meant that sincerely. And they say, well, if you say that, people are going to vote for the incumbents. I said, then if you're going to vote for the incumbents, I understand that. They've done a great job. I'm just offering the perspective that I understand that they've done a great job. But it's important to me that the history that we've maintained and the work that we've done doesn't get lost, doesn't get muddied, doesn't get politicized in order to get somebody new elected. I want to be elected because I respect what's been done. I want to protect it. Why we go forward toward tomorrow.
And keep it going
Yes.
forward. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Passing the
and
torch.
you're younger, you have new thoughts and new perspectives, and every community needs that.
Yeah.
They really do, because you have to move forward.
That's right.
You don't want to stay sedentary.
Can't.
You absolutely cannot. You know, and the more you move forward with new ideas and new concepts, the better our community will get.
That's right. It's the same thing we talk about with senior living and retirement years. You can't stop. You always need to find something. What's next? What's going to keep guiding you forward? You can't slow down.
That's right, and I don't intend to.
Well, I hope not.
And do we need to take a break?
Yep.
Yes, let's do that. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220, KHTS.
There's a classic diner in town that combines old-fashioned dining with a hip 21st century menu. They call it trendy nostalgia. They call it Kathy's Deli. Kathy's Deli is a classic diner. Homemade jams, freshly baked breads, and even unique flavored coffee creamers made on site. Experience the fresh, new, yet old-fashioned taste of your local hometown diner. Serving traditional and unique breakfast and lunch delights every day from 7 to 3. Kathy's Deli on Lyons Avenue off Wayman Court.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Set sail with the SS Lark in a cruise-themed fundraiser packed with live entertainment, great food, fun, games, and dancing as Lark Ranch celebrates their 60th anniversary. Proceeds benefit Lark's residential and day programs and services. Lark Ranch in picturesque Bouquet Canyon just past Vasquez Canyon Road provides a safe home environment for more than 100 developmentally disabled adults. Tickets are $125. The fun happens on Sunday, September 22nd at 1 p.m. Details at larkfoundation.org. That's L-A-R-C, Lark with a C, Foundation.org.
Hi, it's Ashley with Waste Management. Have you ever heard the phrase, one bad apple spoils the bunch? The same is true for recycling. One non-recyclable item can spoil an entire load of otherwise good material. This may seem like a small issue, but it represents a huge problem that's preventing tons of recyclables from ever seeing a second life. Working together, we can do better by following 3 simple rules. Recycle all bottles, cans, cardboard, glass, and paper. Keep items clean and dry, and no plastic bags in the recycling. For more recycling tips, follow us on Twitter at WM_SoCal.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
Questions about your water bill? SCV Water is available to answer your questions and help you understand your water bill. They can provide the tips and tools you need to use water more efficiently. Visit yourscvwater.com to manage your account and to pay your bill. Their customer service representatives look forward to helping you. That's yourscvwater.com.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome to the Senior Hour. The following is paid programming and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Jean Dorio, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM and AM 1220 KHTS. And we're speaking with Jason Gibbs, a potential city councilman. Yeah,
potential. That's right.
Potential. Why not?
Well, they had 50 running in that special election.
That's right.
But
There were 50 of us
there were
signed
50, and and I was a part of that, and I'd done that twice. And who wants to run a campaign when
well,
you might be able to?
There is a draw in that sense. There is a draw.
And if they're just flipping coins, you got a chance,
That's
right?
right.
So, but you had mentioned before about how great it was to talk with many of those who were running.
Yeah.
And really, I felt all of them had something to offer, and I just, this community is, in terms of a choice to come and open a practice. I mean, it was a young community in the 1980s, and I thought, it's kind of cowboy town. Let's move out there, and but it's turned out great because there are so many thinkers here.
Right.
And I love that. I love the atmosphere of medicine that allows me to, apply my knowledge to people's lives. But that's what politics is about
Right.
too. And I was so happy as people were were putting their hat into the ring. I was confident that whoever was chosen was going to do a great
Right.
job. So, and learning like you learned, so many of those individuals just, they're thoughtful and understanding and intelligent and so worthy of being in a leadership position.
Sure. And I learned a lot doing that, that signing up for one of the 50 at the Signal Forum. I walk into the room, again, never been involved in politics. I'm wearing just a polo shirt and some jeans. Everyone's got these nice pressed suits on, these beautiful ties, and I'm just looking around and go, what am I doing?
That's right.
And I made a comment that night in my closing statement. I said, I've learned a few things, and one of the things I learned was I need to get a tie if I want to do this for a living.
And then Chuck Champion offered you his
Chuck
tie.
brought his yellow tie over and handed me a tie.
Who was a publisher of the Signal
That's
at
right.
the time.
And then so the night of the actual appointment, again, I never had been to City Hall. I knew where it was. I'd just never been inside. I said, again, I come in, I'm dressed a little nicer, but still no tie. Everyone's got those beautiful suits on, and they got speeches prepared, and I pull a little folded piece of paper out of my pocket, and I say my spiel. But that night, Bob Keller, when he was the first to talk about candidates, well, I'm sorry, let me step back. So after we all gave our little 3-minute speech, they took a break, and they said, okay, every one of the elected council members will get a chance to call anybody up that they'd like to bring up. And Bob had mentioned my name. I had never met Bob Keller. And he says, I'd like to hear from Jason. And I looked at the guy, and I think it was Brett Haddock sitting next to me. I said, did he say Jason Gibbs? And after it was all done, when he was announcing who he wanted, he had mentioned 3 or 4 people, I think, that he was really impressed with. And he had mentioned my name. And that blew me away. I said, I knew who Bob Keller was. He'd been on council, like we've been talking about for 17 years, I think, at the time. And here's a kid he has never met. We had never met before, and he says, I'm really impressed with this young man. And I sometimes wonder if he hadn't have said that and my name had never been mentioned, I'd never been called up, I don't know that I ever would have followed up. I might have. But that was just one more little spark that said, maybe there's something to this. If Bob thinks there's something there, then maybe I'll stay involved. And that led to me going to the Signal and then running again, and Bob just becoming a supporter, and I couldn't have been more grateful. But, Gene, you were the first one, I think, to ever publish my name in the paper. Because after the appointment was done, you put out a little piece that just said, you talked about a couple of the candidates. You said, I really liked this person, and you were very grateful for a group of us youngers who were getting involved. And you put, I said, Doctor, who's Gene Dorio? Gene Dorio knows my name? I was blown away.
Well, if you keep wearing beautiful shirts like that.
Well, my wife
you
only
got
lets
it
me go
made.
out looking good now.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness. That shirt is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. Does
Your
it go
wife
well with
has,
the red?
Yeah,
Okay.
your wife has good taste.
Good taste in shirts. Good taste in husbands, too.
Oh, yeah.
Not gonna lie.
All right. Well, I don't know about that, but maybe good for a city councilman.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. So how many of you are running this year?
Well, as of now, I think only 2 people have officially put in the statement that says they intend to run. But normally, last time
50.
last time there were 20 people who put names in. 15 appeared on the ballot.
Oh my goodness.
15 people.
Oh my goodness. That's like the Democratic
Like
Party
the
now
presidential
with all of
campaigns,
those.
right?
Gee, many Christmas.
It was a lot of people.
Holy cow.
But in some ways, I look at that and said that's pretty awesome that there were 15 to 20 people willing to do that. It is not easy to run.
Yeah.
Just honestly in general, not just from the you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your name out there, your family out there.
That's right.
You're putting your opinions out there, and in politics today, civility disappears very fast. Although I also argue, 150 years ago, civility was if you disagreed, you went out and shot each other during a duel. So civility's changed a little bit. But with like the advent of Facebook and social media, anybody can pop an opinion real fast, just like that. Nice things get said, bad things get said.
That's true.
But anybody who's willing just to step in and do it, I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
It is not easy.
And nowadays that civility, when you say, and you have demonstrated and said this on this program, you said, you did not say negative things about people.
No.
You said positive things about people.
Right.
And I think that's an important characteristic for all politicians that tone down the negative part and tone up the positive part, because that allows us to reach forward toward each other, network, and understand where others are coming from, even though we disagree.
That's right.
And that's the important part, and I think that's a characteristic that Bob Keller has had, and he's recognized that, Jason, and you.
Thank you, Gene. Now, I don't like rhetoric. I don't like people looking at things from a left or a right. I just don't. Right. And I get disheartened, especially when I enjoy reading Supreme Court opinions. I don't know why. I've just always liked it. But so often when a decision gets made, when you read about it in the press, it's just, oh, well, the left side did this and the right side did this. I said, it's not about left and right. It's supposed to be about, in that case, what's constitutional or not.
That's right. And we need to take another break.
Nope, we're ending the show.
Oh, he's shutting us down.
Jason Gibbs, good luck. You're a great candidate for city council.
Thank you, Doctor, so much. Thank you both of you.
We appreciate your being here.
Of course.
We are sponsored by Comfort Keepers In-Home Care and Advanced Audiology. Listen to us next week on the Senior Hour. Now go and enhance your quality of life.